Hello Earth, welcome to episode 47, season 3 of Making Cell, a series of videos where I record myself designing and implementing a programming environment called Cell. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I recommend you go check out the page of the project, which is at github.com/autocoronel/cell. Link I'm pasting in the description. So, where were we? So we had an interesting set of sessions last week, basically taking the bull by the horns, and because this is last week, right? Yes, so basically last week we defined how sequences and loops work, so I think we're ready to tackle that, but I want to actually start with the goal in mind. So I made a few notes here on Saturday on types, and also just before starting this recording session here, so you can read it later if you want. And it's going to be on the repo. This is on the README. These are the development notes, which I basically is my main stream of consciousness here. And here I'm going to rethink the demo. Yes, rethinking the demo. I'm thinking of the following, because this is going to determine the features that I'm building right now, and I want the demo not to not to show off. I want the demo to have something that can make someone else understand what this is for by just looking at it, instead of getting ideas. We have a lot of ideas here, and I think the ideas work extremely well. This is the best set of ideas I work with in terms of what do they call them? Principles for being a programming language. I'm really happy with them, but now I need that I need those to be expressed in a system that is working, and that system has to do something. But more than doing something, it doesn't just have to do what other programming languages are doing. It's much more about how is it different, how is it better, how is it special, what we're doing in Cell. Where's the click? That's the whole point, which is of course back with all the slow, long work we did before, and we'll also do later. So if I'm rethinking the demo, it's like start with data. I'm having two variants in mind. One is CSV with list of sales, or CSV with list of books. Choose your own adventure. Money versus knowledge. So you would choose one of the two, but they're still going to be the same in many ways. Upload the data through the editor. Data is placed in the data space, and then we're going to make a dashboard. The showing path make a dashboard. The publishing, the showing. The publishing path is make a dashboard, which shows what? Entries, and then it could be like amount sold, or amount of pages. Top customers, top authors. Could be a dashboard with different aggregations. This would be a sum, and this would be a grouping. That would be sum with grouping. Yeah. And then once you make a dashboard, the most interesting thing would be to be able to have make an an API endpoint to get more data in. No, actually, we can make it like this: API endpoints get more data in with post with validations, and then download all data with a get. So far there's no access control, and it's fine, more than fine at this stage. That can come later, and will come later. So this is the publishing path. The thinking path can be find repeated entries, apply constraints to find invalid data. Actually, this could be repeated entries, invalid values. What else can we do with thinking with data? This was publishing and thinking, right? Questions for later, constraints. I call them constraints, rules, or validations. I would call them rules. Short and powerful. Because then the whole thing about types and structure is right there. You just set rules as data. And the validation is done. A good thing I would say in validation instead of rules, you can say validate and validation. Whereas with rules, just have to say you enforce the rules. But it's not about being valid, is it? Well, it is. Is it valid or not? No, because I have no verb to rule in the sense of validating. Whereas with validation, you can have a validation noun and validate verb. You can also just assert a rule. Yeah, because we're not going to call it valid. But you can say check as verb. The check function call takes a number of rules. We can just call them checks. I'm not sure. Let's just do check verb rules noun. This will be use what can I do for thinking? Bring data from external APIs to get more data for, I hate to use the word enrich, to get further data. So here in the thinking, just bring data from outside that complements your thing. And then interact with the LLM. Interesting aggregations. Also within the editor, so you don't go and see it on a dashboard. That's the difference. I think this is more than enough. What's interesting about the above, you never leave your browser. You don't even have to sign up. You can see the dashboard as an overlay on the editor, so you never leave your tab either, but you don't, but you do show the standalone dashboard by clicking on a link that opens a new tab. You can see the results. Pam, para, pam, param, para. You can see the results. The data and results of each call on top of it. What was I say? What did I say here? Low noise, sorry. Yeah, see the result. You now have a working space that not only has the data and the code, but also has a dashboard and can call an API and also can call itself APIs. So we go back to the previous song. I think this is redundant. Maybe no, it's powerful. You also have your UI and API. Yeah, this is incredibly powerful. I just don't see another way of looking at it. So something else I wanted to say, which is unrelated. Let me just put it here at the top. Also, John Osterhout in the UI will have one data space per application, the whole thing, not one per widget. I think that's a good idea. TK is a fantastic toolkit, graphical toolkit that I never used, but it was really powerful. Yes. So now, I'm not sure if I want to run it through AI. Maybe not. Yeah, I think this would be a great demo. I would be very happy with this. Extremely happy with it. What you do not need in programming a remote server. You don't need a remote server. Actually, not even that. A runtime, which a database, an UI. You don't need a backend, a front end, or a database. That's what you don't need, whether it is remote or local. So let's go with this one. No, I need the whole thing. What is this? Also not. Right side one. Okay, good. Okay. What do I need to make this happen? So what do I need? We can just pull upload, and the upload requires single entry points at cell call. We definitely need that. I need a single entry point. Yeah. So I think the single entry point is enough for the upload. For publishing, bam, bam, ba-da-bam. I need to well, everything, right? I need a sequence to be working fine. Sequence and worked to basically set the variables. So I need the mechanisms of the sequence properly. Loop. Yeah, I just need to bite the bullet there and do that. So we have a loop. Yeah, we need these two. Actually, I'm a bit jumpy with the music. Sorry about this. Yeah. So we just need loops. I was looking at this to see if it's absolute rubbish or I can work with this. I can work with this. I was gonna say it's dense, but then again, you don't have to be faster than the bear, right? This is definitely denser. Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at the loops now. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's gonna get interesting now. So we have sequence and loop. I'm looking at this. We need a UI, right? Actually, we don't need this necessarily for. Well, we actually need this. Publishing. Else. No. Now we need this. We need a UI, which basically means HTML generation. But it's more than that. I need to design the UI. Like one thing is to generate HTML, but I also need to basically do the whole thing with the reactive views that I do in my JavaScript framework. And I don't think I'm going to rewrite the framework right now. I might do it soon, but even then, if I rewrite it, I just basically need to design hosting, because I need to host it. Serving it. Okay, I'm starting to have a lot of ideas on the. We need to design the. Each widget, I hate that word, but I have to use it. Each widget is its own space, or all the widgets you define on the cell have a single view. No, it can't be that, because you might want to have different views based on the same cell, although the simplification from a functional perspective is tantalizing. But you could only have one view. Why do I will get to this, I am not done here. Why do I want to have a single one? Because the user would get confused less. No. Let's go with multiple views. We have a call add view that gives you a view. Views can and should be nestable. If you define a view somewhere else on the cell, you should be able to reference it. It will get inserted. Okay. State management. The view will load. Oh, here we're trading into so the make or break the Meteor JS minefield, but it's okay. I think we can do it. So So any red-blooded lover of their own home country would tell you, you just talk, the UI talks to the backend through an API, and it has its own space. You don't share the wires intimately between the data space in the editor, which is your own, and that of the client, because you cannot really trust the client. Oof. The HTML is fine, but what about the data that goes in that the view function, view call? The direct wiring cannot work because one, the state of the cell is the state of the UI, privacy, security, and two, multiple clients with diverging state at the same time. But how do we avoid having to make the same API endpoints for querying things? Okay, we can do that. We can make the views register automatically but visibly API calls that are getters to what the view needs. This begets the question: are all views in the same place, and are all API endpoints in the same place? No, they can't be, because you want them to be where they should be. But then how do you keep track of what's there? Because there has to be a unified directory of view and API resources on the cell. Sure, you're good. Good point there. What can I say? What comes later? Yeah, this is not bad. What? Oh yeah, not too late. So no, they can be. It has to be a unified directory. So, but the calls to view or API, we could call it API instead of HTML. HTTP, sorry. Can register something in a special part of the data space, which is API and view as a side effect. And I don't mind about side effects, because this is not Haskell, and that can allow or block the setting of that view or API. but then you have full wiring happening naturally as part of your view creation. Oh. This could completely work. We need the API. Honestly, there's no point in distinguishing this. So in the view generation, auto wiring of API calls. I guess the API would come first here. The UI here, and then what else? Be like language here, let's say. The API. Here will be like add view. But the messages, as well as their references, they do higher up. We could even bundle all that view needs into a single API. Would give you custom wiring. Not bad, not bad. I only get to have these ideas because I'm the guy that has to implement the damn thing afterwards. I have to pay the price too. So sequence loop, what else do I need? What else do I need? We're almost done here. We're almost done with the beginning of cell. Imagine we could do this in one season. Imagine that. Maybe the next episode is going to be season 4. Yeah, looks like it. So I would basically need to do some count. This is easy. It's for data handling. Count, sum, aggregate, and then we get to more stuff, which is it would be then check. I think this deserves its own place. it's add view. I don't think that checks should be enforced globally. And do we? If you don't enforce them globally, well, on the cell as a whole, you what? Need that all changes happen through a certain tunnel, like an API call. But then internal data handling is done on quote live wire, and if you want to do things internally, you can be breaking your own consistency. Hey, this is probably why databases have the schema baked in. You want to be able to have freedom, but not to break your own rules, especially because of typos or carelessness. So yes, checks, rules have to be enforced globally. So we have 3 global resources that can be called set from anywhere: API, view, and rule. And the structure of a cell, an organization. Yeah, we can just do it as singular, right? We have access path, cron dialog, editor. This API. API and email. I mean, we can be, it's application programming interface, right? Application programming interface, it's an API. Let's just call it an API. Have file, rule, view. So this should be endpoint. File, rule, view. Yeah, I just put constraints. It's great. We have access and cron and file with we'll deal with later. Also the uploading has to have So access column file. Access run the dialog. So it's 6 or 7. So 7. 6 of which you put yourself, you set yourself. Nice. Why these rules make sense? They replace the type system. You can also have them inside calls for specific data, but the outermost ones work for every put. Put will only go through if the row is respected. This would be like if you had a put with that you write yourself with a set of rules. The result is the same. Not bad. I like this. So where were we before? It's at view. I completely lost this. The call. I'm a bit scared of this global rule, but I think it makes perfect sense. I want to say something about it, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here for thinking. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I don't even need specific calls for this. I can just write it with something, with composing a couple of calls there, a grouping by value, and seeing if it's more than one. When setting rules that are not passed by what's already there, you see the errors on top of the rule itself, which is a call. That's the cleanup, the post hoc cleanup, and new bad data coming in won't be let through, and you'll see the error on the top of the put. And if you are bringing that bad data from an API call, the error from the put goes. If it's a global rule, goes as the response. It'd be cool to see that on the UI. Well, I think this has been extremely productive, and more than productive, fruitful. So I'm going to stop here. Yeah, this is the end of season 3. Season we're figuring out what the hell to do, and I think we now have a very challenging but walkable road and a workable path. Yeah. Thank you for watching.